And joining us now is the chairman of the House Homeland Security Committee, Texas Congressman Michael McCaul. The Secretary of State says we're not looking for ground troops. What does that mean?
Well, I think that's unwise. I do agree with the sort of strategy that we want the Sunni moderates, the Arabs, to fight the Sunni extremists. I don't think we want to put our conventional combat troops in the middle of a lot of this, although we will need advisors and special forces to guide airstrikes into Syria, which we have not done to date. Having said that, I met with the Prince of Jordan just 2 days ago, who said he is ready today to put his troops into Syria to fight ISIS. So I don't know why we wouldn't consider that option of all the Arab nations. And also, I know you met with in Cairo with Egypt. They have a very strong military that we could try to advance the argument to put them in that area.
Well, there are people traveling with the Secretary this morning that are saying on background that we also have some commitments from some Arab countries to furnish aircraft to join in the airstrikes. Do you know anything about that?
I do, and I know UAE and other countries have stepped up to the plate. I think that's a positive sign. I think the fact General Allen is leading this international coalition, who is the commander, he's the expert to do this, I think it is positive. Again, we want the Sunni moderates to fight the Sunni extremists here, and I think that's key. But if I could just say, after these beheadings, once again we're reminded of how brutal and barbarian they are. And with all the mixed messages coming out of the White House about we don't have a strategy, we're managing this conflict, and finally saying they're going to destroy them, I think it's important to send a clear signal to our enemy, but also to our allies in the region, that we will destroy and defeat ISIS wherever they exist, and wherever they exist. And I think that's very, very important by any means necessary.
You know, your colleague, Republican Senator Lindsey Graham, showed extreme frustration this morning. Here's just a bit of what he said.
There is no way in hell you can form an army on the ground to go into Syria to destroy ISIL without a substantial American component. This president needs to rise to the occasion before we all get killed back here at home.
So, should there be more of a sense of urgency here about meeting this threat? I mean, we haven't had any airstrikes in seems like a week, and there have been 3 of these beheadings.
There's been no urgency. You know, this threat has been out there for over a year. And finally, the White House started to pay attention to it after the beheadings, after the American people started to rally, behind this. He finally comes out with an address to the nation. But now it's catch-up time, and it's catch-up time trying to get a coalition together and a strategy together. And I think, Bob, the bottom line is ISIS does not fit in this president's narrative. His narrative was, I am the president to end these wars. And so now when he looks at his legacy, he can't get his head wrapped around the idea of what ISIS is and how to defeat it and what an imminent, urgent threat that it really is. I think now the American people are resolved to take on ISIS immediately and urgently.
Would you like to see the Congress vote to authorize these airstrikes to go to the world as say, we're united about this?
I think it is important, and the president has said he's coming to Congress for support. I think the American people need to weigh in with their support. And I do think, well, we're going to vote on a limited authorization with respect to training and vetting of these moderate Syrian forces. I do think it's important for Congress to authorize these airstrikes, particularly into Syria. Remember, General Dempsey came out and said, you can't win this unless you go into Syria. And he was reined in very quickly by the administration. But General Dempsey was right. And we can't cut the head of the snake off unless we go to where it is. And the head of the snake is in Syria.
Congressman, thank you so much for joining us. We'll be back in a minute with New York Senator Kirsten Gillibrand.